Hello, everyone, to another episode, the first one of 2025, number 71, with our resident wellness Olympian Danai Theo. Thank you for coming on board and
Thank
happy
you for
New
having me.
Year.
Happy New Year, guys. So good to see you again.
So
Happy
good
New
to
Year.
see you again. I know, like it's been, well, this is your fourth time you've been on our podcast now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth time is.
You know, you've got just so many shows under your belt. I think we're sitting at around 10 pro shows, including Olympias. So you're not just your stock standard girl that's just done her pro debut and feeling the waters. Like it's almost like you're moving into this kind of like, maturity now.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
you're all grown up. You're more grown up than us old bags up here. So
You're a seasoned competitor.
you're a seasoned pro competitor,
Yeah.
and have less grey hairs than us.
Well, hopefully, I mean, we'll see. Yeah. I've done a fair few now. It's almost like it's become normal for me, you know. I'm in prep more than I'm in off season now. So
Right.
Just the way that you live your life now.
Living
Yeah.
a better life. This is it. It's just the lifestyle, isn't it? We were
Yeah.
speaking off air about how you've evolved over the years through all of your shows, and taken on all of the feedback from the judges, and you're a real analytical kind of a person when it comes to perfecting your body, like and you're always bringing what
Yeah.
tell you to bring, you're making all of those improvements. Now you did that last year, right? You took the feedback from the judges, and you gave them exactly what they wanted. And even if that might not have necessarily been your desired look, that was your favorite look or what have you,
Yeah.
and then respectively so, you did well. But I think what I'm more curious about, especially with the evolution of the sport, which we'll get into a little bit later on, is what's Danai going to be bringing moving forward?
Okay, so well, obviously, like every show you do, you get a better understanding of, what you need to work on, what you need to improve on, how you need to come in for you. Because obviously, like the thing we don't understand sometimes is the judges, judge what they see on stage for like a few minutes. So they may like say, oh, I want you to come fuller, I want you to come leaner, I want you to come tighter. But you have to learn how to translate that for your physique. So that's what I've realized. Sometimes coming fuller doesn't necessarily mean coming fuller. Sometimes you just have to figure out how to bring the desired look, without and still make it suit you. That's what I feel I may have gone a little bit wrong with a couple of my shows. And I feel like every show we found it a little bit, we came a little bit closer to the look. Obviously, like I said, sometimes you just translate things the wrong way. But I feel like after my last shows, after the Olympian, after Romania, what I think I need to do to come in the way they want me to come in, for my physique anyway, is, take the time to get a little bit bigger in my lower body and just be able to come in more on the flatter side on stage. That's what I feel suits me best from a like midsection, to come in tighter in my midsection, but still have full legs, if that makes sense. Because sometimes that, like, my feedback has been coming tighter through your midsection, legs were perfect, conditioning was good, but coming tighter through the midsection, whereas, for me to bring fullness, I have to compromise my midsection. So
oh my gosh,
yeah,
us shorties, it's such a bloody problem, isn't it?
yes. So I think, for my physique, I figured out that, I like how I look best when I'm flat and a little bit depleted, but obviously my legs they cannot be depleted from a,
No.
you know, especially for the division I'm competing at. So, yeah, I think just growing a little bit more so I can come in not as full. Yeah, just find a balance between, having a tight midsection and still like have fullness in the legs. Yeah, that's what I need to do for me, for my physique.
You know, I think what I hear you saying is that you're going to come in the way that you want to come in. That's best for your body.
Yeah, because basically I know what looks good on me. I know the areas I still need to work on, you
And you
know.
also know what the judges essentially are looking for because you've
I
done
know what the
10
judges
shows.
are looking
Yeah.
for. Yeah, I know, especially in all divisions, but in the wellness division, I think a lot of people have their own idea. They go for the size, get as big as possible in the lower body, but it's not what they've been rewarding. It's not what they go for. A small midsection is what wins. A small waist,
Well,
tight waist.
that is across the board, isn't it? That is undeniable.
Yeah, of
Small,
course. Yeah.
itty bitty waist has to be, in my opinion, the priority.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's no point in getting your legs huge if you're gonna blow out your waist.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what we've seen. They've been rewarding smaller girls because they are the ones that have a tighter waist, which is like it can be a genetic thing, but also it's also a training thing. It's also how you come in. It's a combination of things.
And here's the thing, right? When you've got muscle maturity and density in the fibers, you can
Yeah.
afford to come in flat, not lose detail,
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
full. And I think that is where a lot of the girls are getting confused, right? They're compromising, or maybe they
Yeah.
just don't have the density or the maturity yet, for example. And then they're going for that fuller look. But their midsections also, your midsection's got muscles in there as well. Those fuckers are gonna fill out.
Yes, yes. And also, sometimes we may get confused because we see girls winning shows that are bigger, but what we need to understand is the judges will reward what's there on the day, you know what I mean? So there may be winners, like pro show winners that are bigger than what they would ideally reward. But if that was the best on the day, that was the best on the day. It does not mean that it's what they want ideally for the division.
There's been a lot of changes, and
Yes,
it
yes,
hasn't
there
there,
has been.
there's
Yeah, for sure. The past year there has been a lot of changes, and lately even more so.
absolutely, it's interesting. Both Rose and I, well, me being a coach as well, as a coach, I'm impartial to all federations. So I generally put my client where they're suited, if they don't just want to go up on stage and make up numbers or do it
Mhm.
for experience. Does that kind of make sense? So if they're
Of
going up
course,
there
yeah.
to win and they want to do well, it's like, okay, great. This is where I believe you're best suited, or if someone's like, I want to do NAB, or if someone's like, I want to do ICN or PMBA or ABC or XYZ,
Yeah.
then as long as their physique suits that, and there's been consistency there, and you can go, yeah, that's the consistency of the
Mhm.
bodies that are being presented. And I can look at the last 10 years of ICM, PMBA, NABA, and all those other shows and go, yep, the bodies that were being rewarded 10 years ago are the same bodies that are being rewarded today. What I'm noticing personally, and I'm probably going to get myself in trouble for saying this, but this is my personal opinion, is that there is so much evolution happening, so much growth happening in the IFBB, right? And from an organizational level, but also in terms of the evolution and what's being rewarded in each and every single division, both male and female across the board. And essentially, it's like, are we rewarding the criteria or are we rewarding the evolution of the athletes, you know, and rewarding the best athlete on the stage that day? And so I guess for us, sometimes we can sit back there and we've got 10 different judges telling us 10 different things. They're all right, but it's like, how do you put that all together? And how do you almost preempt what they're going to be looking for that next year? Because it's almost, I feel like it's almost like, well, how am I going to bring myself in for this show? Who's judging? Do I need to get to know the judges, right? So that I know what their subjective, matter. And in terms of being able to predict where each category is going to be going, generally you would be looking at the criteria. Now, judges have admitted it in the IFBB, sometimes they get it wrong. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So in terms of what you see in the sport across the women's categories as well, in terms of what's being rewarded, let's start with wellness, for example. What have you noticed in terms of when we had our very first wellness, promoted to where it is now?
Look, I feel like obviously from my understanding, there is the criteria that they try to go off, but at the same time, once you get to learn what each judge likes and prefers, they won't all want the same kind of look,
Yeah.
that it's a subjective sport, and as much as they try to go off the criteria, again, on the day, they will reward what each judge finds, prefers anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, that's something that I'm also learning. Sometimes it's good to kind of like have a bit of strategy with the shows that you choose to do as well, and learn what each judge wants and come in the way they want, depending on who's judging the shows that you've picked. So that's what I am planning to do. Once you know who's judging the shows you've chosen, you kind of know how what look they prefer better. So whether you want to come in a little bit fuller or a little bit harder, or whatever this particular judge usually rewards.
What do you think the main influences have been in order, if you look at the IFBB athletes from 10 years ago, from bikini all the way through to bodybuilding, and you look at them today, it's like chalk and cheese. It's completely fucking different. But the criteria has and still is exactly the same. When we look at figure and bikini and figure, and I'm only saying that because we're figure, it was said 30% more muscle, 30% better conditioning. Well, than bikini, and then there is a massive discrepancy from a majority speaking in that way.
I'll give you an example. So when I first started out in figure, I came over from another league at that time. So I was in a natural league and I was competing in physique in that league. So I was into figure in the IFBB. Now, I was considered at that time, they kept telling me that I needed to scale down, that I couldn't put any more muscle on, right? Wow. That I was right at the top of my division, that I should consider going up into physique at that time. So that was in 2014, and to now that I'm basically like the stringy one on stage, like I would, not necessarily stringy, but I was told that, I do need to
more development.
But then my first show, I was not told that. So again, in 3 different pro shows that I've done, I've been given different feedback as well. And it is a subjective sport. And I think for athletes listening to this, I think it is really good to go in wide eye about that, because I would agree with you, particularly in our division figure, it is not the same. It's just not. If you had striated glutes, you would have completely been marked down and taken out of the line.
It's like put Wendy Fortino, right? for me, Wendy Fortino, that's figure.
That's figure.
That is figure. Yes, she's tweaked, she's refined, and she's spent like decades doing that. And then you look at Jessica Padilla Reyes, right? So who is like just dense as fuck, phenomenal physique.
Like, and there's no shade to these athletes. Like, they're both amazing women, like completely amazing and phenomenal physiques, but very different. And that's the range of bodies that are in figure are just
it's almost like you've got the enhanced figure and the classic figure. And I don't mean enhanced like geared up, or it could be, right? But you've got two types of, you know, it's almost like there needs to be like a classic figure and then like, you know, like the actual other open whatever figure, sort of thing. And so it's kind of like, as an athlete yourself, like if you're looking like, if you could give like, now let's say we were to give judges feedback, right? Like if we were to give the judges, you know, constructive feedback, right? You know, me personally, the first thing would be continuity. Okay. Continuity across the board, and not using your opinions. However, now in saying that, you know, I was having a, you know, last year, one of my girls was competing and we got Bev Francis, right, on to teach us some posing and all the rest of it. And she was very open and she said, you know what, you've got to get to know the judges, because every judge, you know, will judge and be slightly subjective. Me, I've come from bodybuilding, right? So I'm going to like those bigger, slightly harder girls. And the way that I see the criteria is different to someone else. So maybe like alongside continuity, it's kind of having a good balance of judges that, you know, some prefer the bigger look, some prefer the, you know, like the smaller look or whatever, like, you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So for you, like, what would you like to see more from the judges?
Look,
I've put you on the spot, by the way.
That's okay. That's okay. I say how you know
how it is,
it is and how I feel. In saying that, I do think that judging it's very hard. You know, it's not easy to judge so many athletes in like such short time. You know, and sometimes I feel like, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. Sometimes some judges may, you know, reward. Let's take wellness as an example, okay? They may have two girls on stage they cannot decide on. One fits more the criteria by the book, right? But in terms of size, in terms of conditioning, but the other one, you know, might have a better structure, a better shape overall. So the overall look may be nicer and more more pleasing. Even if it's not exactly, you know, as close to the criteria as the other girl, it just looks, because at the end of the day, it's a visual sport, you know. So I feel yes, it's very hard not to be subjective. It would be great for the athletes, obviously, if we knew exactly what to bring, but at the same time, we're also different. That you know, like I said, if I get feedback from a judge, it does not necessarily mean that I need to translate that. You know how I think it will work for me to bring something that is as close to what they're asking. You know.
A lot of it's about a visual illusion too, as you know. So for you, I think what you're saying is that, they might, you're going to try and add more mass to your legs so that, you know, you've got that appearance and of your waist being even tinier. And so you're giving that illusion of like, look, tiny, tiny waist. Like, you know, look at the, you know, how amazing these proportions are. But it's really might be just a tiny, like extra maybe inch around, you know, your glutes or whatever, that might make all the difference, because you know where to put it. You know, if on your body, you're like, right, if I can build, you know, my glute medius, or if I can grow my upper glutes, or I'm going to focus on my upper glutes, because if I feel like if I bring that up a bit more, it's going to give that illusion more. So you're translating it into what it means for your
exactly
body.
Yeah. Yeah, but like obviously it would be good if we all knew exactly, you know, what to bring.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
think
really
that's the
hard. I think
problem
it's
of
really
why,
hard.
and I think that's probably feeds into why the categories drift up, because you know the girls are trying so hard to
Yeah.
fit these criteria. They're getting the feedback. Oh, you need to get bigger. That doesn't mean bigger everywhere, girls. That doesn't mean bigger all over and going to extremes with
Yeah, and look, to be fair, like at that level, you know, it could be, it's just refinements more than like,
I
you
love
know,
that. Yeah, it's the
yeah,
refinement.
yeah,
Yeah, and maybe maybe some of the judges could be a
Yeah.
bit more specific about what they mean by putting on more size, like like you said, translating that in the language that that particular athlete can understand, number one, but also the athletes as well being able to phrase it back so that they actually have a better understanding also of what the judge is actually asking for, right?
yeah.
I think one thing that Sandy Williamson does really well, and I think they're in their third year running, I think it's on next weekend, is that women's workshop, the MPC women's workshop. And it is just every year it's grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. And you're getting what they want from the top of the food chain. Now, obviously at the top of the food chain, you've got your Beckys, you've got your, your Sandys and all the judges that tend to, judge a majority of both the MPC and the Olympia and pro shows as well. And so if you're almost modeling yourself off that as well, they tend to be really like, this is it. Like I find that, this is the body that we're
If you're going
rewarding.
to follow someone about where to kind of, that's a great way to start is following those ladies, because they are, well, they've defined the categories. Like, I mean, they were there at the inception of them.
Yeah.
You know, Sandy, I mean, she was there when they were being developed.
Yeah.
So she knows these criteria,
Yeah, look, and it's also understandable for the criteria to slightly change, because we have like new divisions all the time, like when they add more divisions, it's almost like everything else need to be kind of like adjusted. So there is a difference in between the different divisions.
I was going to ask, what would you like to see? Would you like to see, or what, first of all, two questions. Okay. I'll put you right on the spot. What about the new category that's been added, the one just below bikini? What are your thoughts on that? And do you think that there is room for other divisions to be added to the IFBB?
Look, I think the new division will be good for like people who don't want to be that muscular, I guess. It's good from a business perspective as well, but more people like in the federation, more athletes, more business for the coaches, not more business for the posing coaches, more business for everyone. So I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. Now, would I like to see something else on, you mean, as well, or instead of that?
Well, either or, I guess.
Wow.
Whatever, I'll give you the power.
Okay, yeah. Well, look, obviously, like that's a personal preference. I think bodybuilding should look like bodybuilding. So if I was to add a division, it would be something bigger than bikini. So maybe like something in between the bikini and wellness, if you want. For girls that have outgrown bikini but don't have the genetics or don't even want to look like wellness. So I think that would be a good division to add to the federation or for the females.
This is an interesting one, right? Because generally, I mean, it's been bikini, figure, physique, before wellness, right? Body and wellness was supposed to be that category between
Yeah.
It's not really an in between though, you know.
It's not though. It's more of a genetic, like before when you were saying that you felt that there's a genetic component to wellness. I completely agree with you, 100%.
Yeah. Look, I think all divisions have a genetic component to them. You know,
Yes.
bikini, you still have to have like you know, like the small waist, the nice round glutes genetically, like, you know, not everyone can do amazing in bikini, you know. And then
Lisa
for
and I talk
figure,
about
same
that.
thing.
Like, imagine us trying to do bikini. Like, we're just not suited to that at all.
But the same in figure, you know, you need to have this structure for figure as well. It's not just, you know, some like you grow muscle and you look like figure, you know. It is a genetic thing also. And same in wellness. Wellness is a completely, feel like it's a completely different.
It's not even
you know,
on that thing.
Yeah, because like it's a very specific look, and a very specific shape. So yeah, I do think that not everyone could you know outgrow bikini and jump into wellness.
Let me
I
reframe
totally
that then.
agree.
If we're talking about shape, 100%. If we're talking about size and condition, you've got two classes of wellness skills. If it's just size and condition, right?
Yeah.
Not structure, not genetics, not shape. You've got the ones that kind of look like they're in between the current bikini and figure. And then you've got the ones that are more between, they look like they're between figure and physique because of the, you know, the development on their quads, for example, or graininess and through that. So if there was that, you know, if you're looking at what wellness should look like through your eyes, through your subjective eyes, right? What would you like? What would be the perfect avatar for wellness?
Like a description of it, you mean?
Yeah. Like if you were to write in the book of wellness criteria.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, you know, obviously like not a symmetrical physique from top to bottom. We do generally want to have like majority of the size on the lower half, you know. So more like a little bit bigger than bikini on the upper half. Just slightly bigger, not much bigger. A lot more development on the lower body. So quads, hamstrings, glutes. And then I feel like that's where a lot of girls get it wrong. I feel like they don't focus enough on bringing symmetry on the lower body, you know, so have symmetry between glutes, quads, hamstrings, to just feel like as much muscle as possible in whatever, you know, area I can grow.
That's a really important point. Yeah.
So just
That's what I was
because
trying to say before. Like you've got to be specific. Like
So I feel like that's why sometimes you see some girls with those gigantic quads and then they're lacking glutes or hamstrings, you know, and
or they're at a proportion because they haven't, like you said, that there isn't proportion and balance in the bottom half between those muscles.
And conditioning wise, I'd say like a little bit leaner than bikini, yes, for sure. That's probably how I would describe it.
So, and you know, if we're looking at, you know, now you going into doing some shows this year, have you decided what you're doing? You know, obviously you don't have to release that yet. You don't have to tell us what you're doing. But have you decided on some shows?
Spoiler alert.
Look, I haven't confirmed which shows I'll be doing. I do have like a time frame in my head, so I'm thinking about July, August shows. Now I would love to do some in the States this year. Now will I do some in Europe as well? Maybe I'll see how things, you know, go. But I haven't decided yet. I do have a few shows in mind, but I just want to see how the next month will go in terms of, you know, my off season. So far I'm quite happy with how things are, you know, moving. So
What's just happened to those quads of yours and glutes in the
Like, you just
last
look so
4 weeks?
good.
I was
I'm
like,
just like,
holy
oh, every
moly.
time I look at
Yeah.
your photo.
I'll tell you what, it's probably been and that's another thing that it'd be good to discuss as well. You know, I
Yep.
feel like it's the first off season that I've let myself relax a lot. You know, I don't really worry about my body weight as much. You know, I'm just making sure like I'm taking a nice break mentally and just trying to like find the joy in it all again. You know, because being in prep for so long for me and back to back to back for like the last 3 years, it kind of like took the joy out of it, you know, and I just felt like it became a little bit overwhelming towards the end last year. Yeah, I started feeling more pressure rather than the
Passion.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I kind of lost the passion for it. I felt like, yeah, I was kind of forcing myself to finish it. Obviously I was putting everything into it, you know, but like I've been in a better headspace and enjoyed it
Yeah.
more in the past than I was lately, and I felt like that was my mind and my body telling me, you know, you need some time away from it all and just focus on the things that you're passionate about, which is my training.
Mhm.
um and just take the pressure off things, you know. So that's why I told myself I'm not gonna force myself to decide on shows right away. I have an idea of like when I want to compete, but
Yeah.
you know, if I need to take an extra month, I'll take an extra month. So
I love that. There's a
yeah,
saying I always
That's
used to have.
good.
It's like your body will tell you
Yes.
when she's ready.
yeah, for
Mm,
sure. And it's
mm.
like it's honestly been the best thing for me, the best thing that I've done in the last 3 years. And I can see it on my body, you know, I can see like how my body is changing in the best way possible without actually, you know, burning it to the
Like having
ground.
to be pushing and
It looks
Yeah,
dieting and
fresh,
yeah.
like you look fresh, you look
Yeah.
strong, your
You look
muscle
great.
bellies are full, they're
yeah,
balanced,
yeah.
like you can see the skin texture's a lot different as well. You're maintaining great composition as well.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
ridiculous.
you.
Well, you know that we just think that you are Miss Wellness. I mean,
I
for
know.
us, you are just wellness.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Mannion. This
You're
is
our
Lisa Fagan
avatar
and
for
Rose
wellness.
Black from Australia, and we think that Danai Theo should be
Yes.
the next Miss
He is the
Olympia. We're just going
avatar.
to be completely biased. This is such a biased,
No, it's
subjective
not
sport,
biased, it's just
anyways.
true.
Look, I'm not delusional.
No, managing your
I'm quite
No.
realistic with, you know, with where when I'm in a lineup, I know roughly
yeah,
where I belong, you know. And I like that's the nice thing about it, you know, you can always take a step back, you know, and you know, look at things because when you're in it, it's a little bit, you know, you can't see things as clearly. But I feel when my shows are done and I've had some food and some time to like really process things, um I feel like even though, you know, my last show it didn't go as well as I hoped, and the Olympia, obviously, I was hoping to get in the top 10. Not that I was mad with 14th, you know, I was still happy
What
about
is
it.
great. Yeah, no, it's
Um,
good. The top
but
15.
obviously, like I wanted to get in the top 10. But you know, a month or two later, and you look back and you see the lessons from all, you know, from the placings, from the experiences. Even if you feel like you didn't deserve the placing,
yeah,
you still learn. You know, you still
yeah.
learn things. Um, Whether that's, you know, what shows to do or not to do next time. You know what look to bring or not to bring. You know, it's there's always lessons from the experience itself.
What was your
Um,
lesson? What was your biggest lesson?
for me, I tell you what, like for me as an athlete, from a mindset perspective, I feel like um, I it's hard because at the time it's you don't have that mindset, but I want to listen to my gut more, so what I know works for me. Still obviously listen to the feedback respectfully and try to adjust, what I want to bring to the feedback that I've been given. But at the same time, I feel like for me, next time if I feel like I've lost the passion for it and the joy, I will know to take a step back right away. Because I always say, the body will follow the mind always. So if you're in a good headspace, you'll bring a good look. If you're not in a good headspace and you're always like you feel like under pressure, you feel like, things are not, then things start going wrong as well, with everything.
Everything, it has a domino effect, doesn't it?
Well, whether that's your flights or your accommodation or there's things that will go wrong when because that's what you attract. That's what you attract.
Yeah, and the more upset you get about it, the more it comes, and you're just like, oh my God, I've got to settle down and just calm manage.
Yeah. Also, I feel like again, that's easier said than done, but I'll give you an example from myself. Going into the Olympia both years, I actually enjoyed it, even though you'd think that the Olympia you'd feel more pressurized. But for me, because I had taken the expectation, knowing I wasn't going to win the Olympia, you know what I mean? I'd taken the expectation and the pressure of winning a show away from the whole experience, and the whole process. So I genuinely enjoyed and was more present in the moment, and where I was. Whereas going into pro shows, I do have a little bit more pressure, put a little bit more pressure on myself to, I want to win the pro show. I'm not going there
you want to qualify to go to the Olympia.
Exactly. So but at the same time, there's a difference between having that expectation and going into the show with the expectation to win, versus, going into the show with giving it everything you've got and having a winner's mindset, but also not expect to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a difference.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard. It's easier said than done, but I feel like
you reckon that you just finally found that ability to do that at this last Olympia. Is that the show that you felt like you kind of got that good balance?
I feel like, this Olympia, I think I wasn't even upset about the placing. Whereas last year, even though I placed 12th, I was a little bit more upset. But this year was, I was happy. I was happy to be there. I was happy with the look I brought, even though the peak it didn't go as planned. And I was still just so calm, I was very happy to just be there. So I think
good though. It's something that I think other pros can take away, that just removing that expectation of winning, that as you said though, it's so hard to do. I mean, I noticed when I went to America to do the shows with Lisa, for me, I felt like that because I knew I wasn't going to win a show and I could just relax and do the shows. Do you know what I mean? It was a quite a cool feeling, especially the second show that we did.
Oh, the Tri-Cities.
Having the best time. I was just loving life and felt so happy and so stress-free. So you're right. You just, once you take that expectation away from yourself, it's
and because I'll tell you what, it's us who put the pressure, it's not, no one else really cares. You know what I mean? It's us who no, I don't mean people don't I don't mean it like that. You know what I mean? It's us who put that pressure. Other people don't.
Our family is still gonna love us if we don't win.
Our
friends are still gonna care about us.
And I feel like sometimes, and I've been able to relate to that. Sometimes when you define yourself, with a placing, or you start
title.
A title, you start seeing things from a very negative perspective, so I feel like it's very important to know within yourself, that okay, I've done my best, no matter how I place at this show, it doesn't change, how much I've put into this, how hard I work, you know, how people perceive me, you know, or how I perceive myself. It is what it is, you know, and there's more shows to be done in the future. Stage is always going to be there, and we just come back better and try again, you know.
That sounds like a bit of an evolution of like you've had a bit of a
I feel this past year was very difficult. It was very difficult for me prep wise, you know. I felt like I was a bit burnt out even from when I started prep at the start of the year, you know.
I remember,
So
yeah. We had a
we
discussion.
were talking about it. Yes, we were
Yeah.
talking about it. And also I traveled so much last year, not only for the shows, but also like I went overseas for FIBA, you know. It was a lot of traveling. It took a toll on me. There was other things, you know, in my family with family members going on. Yeah. So there was a lot of pressure that I was trying to put aside. And I felt like, you know, it was catching up with me towards the end. So I was like, I need time away from this. You know, I should not feel like that.
Oh, she's jumped off. That's all right. She'll come back. You know,
Okay.
no, she actually jumped off. Accidentally. She'll come back. You know, one of the things that I find is like, you know, that I found myself saying after the last few shows was, what is bodybuilding giving me, or what do I want it to give me, right? Because you also want to be realistic in your expectations as well, right? You're not going to become a millionaire being a bodybuilder for starters. So if you don't have a passion for it,
Correct.
it's going to be a very short-lived hobby and a very expensive one for that matter.
Yeah.
We're just saying, we're talking about expectations of what do you want, like, what is it that you want bodybuilding to give you? What do you want it to do for you? And having and managing your expectations around that, because, you know, bodybuilding is not going to give you, you're not going to become a millionaire, right?
Let's face it.
Right. And, you know, it's an incredible platform to showcase yourselves and what you represent. And so I guess when you're looking at bodybuilding, Danai, what do you want bodybuilding? What do you want this to do for you?
That's a very good point, because that's also like another thing that I came to realization the past couple of months, you know. Because I feel like sometimes when you reach a very low point, like, because for me, not that I reached a low point, but like for my prep journey, like for bodybuilding journey so far, that was the last couple of months were probably the toughest in terms of, you know, I was feeling like I was really forcing myself to finish it, you know. And then when I took myself out of it, and you know, and tried to like really reflect on the whole, how I was feeling, how things went, I told myself, you know what, like at the end of the day, like you said, I don't do this to make money from it, you know. Yes, it brings me business in terms of clients, like posing, coaching, but this is not my income. That's not my source of income. Like competing is actually costing me a ton of money.
Yeah, like,
you know,
like
if
pro
I
league's
was
not putting food on your table, basically.
yeah, exactly. I spend more on competing than I make from it. I can spend a lot more than I make from it. But at the end of the day, it's something that I like, apart from the passion that I've got for it, you know, like I'm really passionate about it, especially the training side of things. I love training. I love, you know, pushing myself, and even the prep, even though it's not an enjoyable process, I feel like it's a very rewarding one. It's a very like empowering one.
Personal.
Personal, yes. You learn a lot about yourself. You toughen up a lot.
A lot.
Resilient. Yeah,
but also, you
resilient.
know, I've
And
learned that it's not only about me anymore, you know, at the level that I feel, you know, blessed that I've reach that level, you know, but I feel that also it's not only about me anymore. I can give so much to people from it, you know, from my own journey, inspire people, motivate people, you know, to go do things that they may be scared of doing, or maybe, you know, overwhelmed with. Um, so for me, it's a lot more than just stepping on a stage and presenting a good physique, you
It
know.
grows you, doesn't it? It grows you. And I think that's
100%, it grows you, and
yeah,
I feel like if you don't find meaning behind it,
yeah.
that can impact other people's lives, it's a very pointless journey. You know, if you only do it for yourself, it's a very pointless, sad, and lonely journey. So, you know, I find it very, very rewarding when I get other girls message me, you know, tell me, oh, you know, you've inspired me to do this, to do that, you know, like you've made me keep going when I thought I was gonna give up. You know, this is what makes you, you know, it actually gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And you do, you inspire so many people that you would never have dreamed that you would. And
100%, yes.
yeah,
And another
with the
thing I
way that
also,
you are too, like, because you're very engaging on your page. So, you know, people like, you know, young girls gravitate to that and they see how hard
yeah,
you work, and yeah, the fact that
yeah.
you're also so lovely as well. So
Yeah,
something to
and
look
also
up to and inspire.
it's very difficult with social media these days because we all get this idea of people showing us the best parts of their lives, you know. So we get confused sometimes, and that can make you feel low about your own life a lot of the time. So I do like, you know, showing like the reality of things, you know, and I don't live a lax lifestyle. Like my life is training, going to the gym, killing myself training, you know. And that's what most of my content is about. You know, it's not me like traveling and going to like the most like the nicest places, or just
Yes,
the glam.
Lazio in the Gold
it's real.
Coast.
I
Yeah,
tell
Yeah.
you, like the glam side of things in that journey is like 1%. You know what
it's
I
like
mean?
4 weeks before the show, you have a Gucci, you know, rig,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
To
You
wear
have a
on like
Gucci photo shoot.
that's it.
99% of it is like, it's honestly like very raw and very like torturing yourself, really.
For those that are
Yes.
going to be watching this, ladies and gents, um, behind the scenes, we still clean the floors, we still do the dishes, we still do our washing.
Yes.
For the
Uh,
best part, we prep our own food and we drive to the supermarket to do that. And we're either paying mortgages, car loans, and for the most part, most of us are living week by week. So
And we're working for a living. We're out there working for a
correct,
living, doing our hours at our
correct.
that's
day
right.
jobs
And
so that we can buy
sponsorship.
supplements.
That's it. And sponsorship is, you know, you get products that is mutually from a company generally, you're not going to get a paid wage, right? Very rarely will you get a paid wage. You might get an affiliates code, a discount code, a few $100s worth of supplements each month, exposure on their platforms, but it's mutually agreeable because you're also doing the work for them as well. You're promoting them. So it's I don't know, call it being an over glorified sales rep that's mutually agreeable, but you're not going to be making money from being an athlete unless you have a sidekick, whether you teach posing or coaching, or I mean,
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
first spoke, Danae, you're like, oh shit, I was barely making $10 an hour when I first came here. I was like working, somewhere, and you were in a
Yeah.
shoebox and you had no money. And I've seen this evolve over the years that, and this is the other thing as well. The higher you go, the higher you climb in the pro league or in bodybuilding as a professional as well, the more shit you need to get done, right? So like your recovery, like it costs me $200 a week for recovery. My personal training's $300 a week. There's $500 a week, right? So, there's
Yeah.
other things that you need to take to consideration at an elite level, because it's all about getting that little 1% extra here and here and here and all that little bit of refinement.
Yes, it's actually, to be fair, it's actually almost physically impossible to be competing at that level and have a normal like 9 to 5 job, it's just, unless you find a way to get a source of income
Mm,
through what you're doing, or it's some other
mm,
way.
yeah,
It's almost physically impossible, just the time and the energy that it takes out of you, just to be at your best, it consumes you. It consumes you,
yeah.
especially during prep. Not only during prep, for me, even in my off season, I'll be training for 3 hours. I'll come home, I'll be
Yes.
like, don't talk to me. I don't want to move.
Yeah.
But yeah, like prep, it's so consuming. It can, yeah, it can be very, very challenging to even just exist. You guys know.
Oh
Um,
yeah, we know. So it's
yeah.
yeah, so it's just having those realistic expectations on understanding what it is that you want bodybuilding to do for you. What do you want it to give you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing your boundaries around that. What are you prepared to do? What are you prepared not to do? And then
Of
managing your
course.
expectations around that. So, one of the things that, I present is the body that I want on stage. And if that gets me first, giddy up. If it gets me last, it gets me last, right?
Yeah.
You know, and also
Mm.
you might get this a little bit later, Danae, but as you get older, the ratio between training and recovery changes drastically. So I'm spending like 70% of my time recovering and 30% of my time training. I've also gained the amount of size that I'm prepared to go to as well, like in that sense. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
the refinement side now. But it's one of those things that as you evolve with the sport, as you grow with the sport as well, you pick up these little nuggets of wisdom, and your body as it ages, everything that you have done,
It catches up.
well, it catches up, but you have to change it as well. Like I think about my first show and how I prepped for it. At 24 years old compared to like 44 years old, soon to be, very different,
Yeah.
the way that you would prep and pose, mature women that maybe might be in menopause and that way is a lot different to someone that's 21 years old as well. So,
Of course, yes. Yeah.
and their capacity to grow as well. Like, if I've been in the sports, since I'm 24 and I'm 44, that's like 22 years, right? And so that's a long time in the sport. If you think about any other sport like football or other professional sports, tennis or what have you, like how long does someone at the top tier, like look at Djokovic, for example, spend at the top tier? How long does an AFL player or a soccer player spend at the peak of their sports? About 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're starting at 44, I personally feel even though you have different set of challenges, you've got more mileage. It's not necessarily about what age you are when you start. It's about how long have you been going for? How have you been looking after your body in that
Yeah.
process?
Yeah.
Right.
100%. How is a big, it's a big thing. Yeah. Even in our sport, even when it comes to like training, so sometimes, because I train people. So a lot of the time, when people ask for like what you do with training, and I tell them it's not so much about what you do, it's how you do it. It's
Yeah.
not you take it one exercise, for example, like I don't know, Romanian deadlifts. It's not just about doing,
Up and
hip,
down.
it's not about hip hinging only, it's how you hip hinge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? So how you do things is like it plays a big part.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So do
sure.
you think that this year is going to be your best year yet?
Well, I always hope that each year is a little bit better. Um, so yeah, I have a good feeling about this year. I have a good feeling.
Something different, yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to go with a different mentality, a different mindset. I feel like this little break is doing me really good right now. More mentally, especially mentally. And yeah, I think it will be a good year for me. Yeah. I hope.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've also noticed as well, you've really picked up the game in your coaching business as well, and your posing. Like seeing your stories, there's a lot more people coming to you now. So you're filling up quite fast. So
Yeah. It's good. It's going
and
good.
Tell
and I'm
people
seeing,
how they can get in contact with you, Danae. Tell
yeah,
people how they can get in
Well,
contact with you and how they
obviously,
can.
you can just message me, DM me on Instagram, but also you can click the link in my bio and you can find all the different packages. But if you're from another country, because I live in Australia, obviously there's different time zones. It's probably best to just message me so we can figure out, the time difference and just make it work somehow.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for if you're international, she's available.
now, okay. Can I also like plug you a little bit more? I would have to say that Danae is the best wellness
Yeah.
posing coach in this country and one of the top in the world, hands down. Like she will
Thanks.
take a novice, someone that's raw as
Mhm.
FUCK, and I can say that because I've sent her two of my girls to do wellness. Remember
How good did they look, right?
when they
Yeah.
competed,
Thank you.
their presentation was absolutely flawless, and they couldn't put two left feet together if they tried.
And they
When
were
they
the
first
most
started.
polished on
Oh,
stage. They were the most polished on stage, thanks to you, Danae.
yeah,
Like it
Oh,
was,
thank
they
you.
looked
That
so
means
good.
a lot to me. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
100%. But then, this also translates into your coaching as well. So, I've seen girls posting that you're actually physically training them and you're physically coaching them. But do you offer online coaching packages for girls that maybe might not be in close proximity to you, but still want access to you?
Of course, yes. Of course, I do online coaching. Yes, I'd love both lifestyle and prep clients. More females though.
Yes,
Love.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Right.
So anyone
Good.
that's watching this right now, if you want to get in touch with Danae, head to her Instagram page, which is, because I don't have it up right now. What's your
Danai Theo _ IFBB Pro.
amazing? And click the link in her bio, get in there. This one here is a rising star. She has actually risen, right?
Oh
She's
yeah,
grown.
well look, I mean, 10 show
I'm
veteran
blushing.
already. So we're looking at a pro. I mean, if you're wanting to get posing practice particularly, honestly, go with someone who's had 2 Olympias under their belt. It's a no-brainer. It's a
8 pro
no-brainer.
shows, 2 Olympias,
Yeah.
done really well in every single one of them. And
Yeah.
and you passed your own way there, you made your own way there as well.
Yeah.
So you're humble, you're authentic, you're real. We love you. We're gonna keep
Me
getting you
too.
back on Go Figure.
Oh yes. You're
Uh,
you're our regular
Yes,
girl.
we have to do that again. Hopefully soon.
we will. If not, we'll have to have like just a Zoom party,
Yes, for sure.
without food
With
prep.
some wine.
For
We
sure.
can have some wine. While you're still in your off season.
That's it.
Yes,
That's it.
that'll be a while
Absolutely.
still, so we've got time.
That's it. Danae, thank you so much for coming on. Love
Thank
you.
you for having me. Thank you. It's always
Absolutely.
great.
Everyone,
Thank you.
hope you enjoy this episode of Go Figure.